And good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Drive for Life. I'm your host, Brian Martindale. It's a very special day today. It is Blue and Green Day, as you see me wearing blue and green to honor Donate Life and people who donate organs as living donors. And that's what we're here looking for today. Our interview today is very special. It is with the LeMay family, Luka's parents, who are you in Cincinnati? I'm sorry. Yeah, we
Mm-hmm.
are in
Yeah.
Cincinnati. Okay. So we're talking to them from Cincinnati, Ohio today, and we're talking to them about their son, Luka, who needs a kidney transplant. And I will allow them to lead into his story. So, Bethany, can you start out by leading into Luka's story and everything that's led up to now?
Yeah. So my name's Bethany. I'm Luca's mom, and this is my husband, Ghazi. And Luca is our first child. We were living in Albania, which is a country above Greece.
Okay.
My husband's Albanian. And we found out when I was 17 weeks pregnant that Luca had something called PUV.
Right.
It's a type of bladder outlet obstruction. And so it causes several different issues with a growing baby. One of them is that the lungs can't develop and also kidney damage.
Okay.
And unfortunately, Luca had a pretty severe case of PUV. And so when we learned about it, we were told that nothing could be done and most of these babies don't make it. But we began to do some research online and found that Cincinnati Children's had a center that treated PUV and also they treated other conditions in their fetal care center.
Okay.
And so they agreed to do a consult with us. So we came from Albania within a week and did a workup, and they basically made a treatment plan, and we decided to move forward with that. And through the course of my pregnancy, he had a shunt put in, and that worked for a while, and then it didn't work, and so they did something called an amnioport, and they would infuse fluid into the amniotic sac so that he had fluid to swallow, which helped develop his lungs.
Okay. And
So
all this
it's
is
a very
going on while you're pregnant.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And it was a very complicated pregnancy. A lot of unknowns,
Right.
it's really hard to know if there was a lot, if he would have any kidney function. Some babies are born with kidney function, some are not.
Okay.
But Luca was born actually at Cincinnati Children's. They have a labor and delivery floor there, and
Right.
was taken to the NICU. He needed some respiratory help his first couple weeks of life, but he made a very quick recovery and was not off oxygen very quickly. And then really the focus were his kidneys. So
Okay.
he wasn't making any urine and needed to be on dialysis. So when he was 3 days old, they put in a catheter and started hemodialysis
Right.
um, until he was 2 weeks old, and they started peritoneal dialysis. And he has been on that since then. So we
Right.
were in the NICU for about 4 months and then came home and have been doing his dialysis at home since then.
Since then. And let the viewers know to understand you're doing this. There's no break for Luca as far as his home dialysis. Tell them what goes into home dialysis.
Yeah, there's we start at 6:30 o'clock, prepare him to clean his dressings. We do that every other day, sometimes every day, depends how it is.
Okay.
Everything have to be sterile. We have to put sterile gloves, sterile mask, um, and we have to connect with machine. We wait him twice a day in the morning after we disconnect him from the machine and before we connect him in the evening. It's 10 hours process, so he's connected with the machine for 10 hours.
Right.
In NICU, it started with 16 hours, and then like as he get older, the hours gets lower.
Right.
Uh, right now in this age, he's only like 10 hours in machine. We also like measure his blood pressure, heart rate, and from the heart rate, from the blood pressure, we can decide what fluid we're going to use for dialysis because there are
Okay.
three three level of fluid, 1.5, 2.5, and 4.25. Sometimes we have to do a mix of 1.5 and 2.5. Sometimes we have to use only 2.5. The bigger the number is, the more fluids pull out
Do you
from
have to get
Luka.
off? Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a process that takes time, and but we are used right now, and for us it's a little bit more kind of not very hard.
Right. But I mean,
It's
I've met other parents that I've met other parents that do this too. Now for Luca, how do you keep him still, the stationary? I know parents that have had to hold their child while they're dying dialysis and then let the other parents sleep. So how do you do this?
Yeah, this is it's a challenge. Sometimes like the machine will beep and one of us have to wake up and go and fix the machine.
Right.
Uh, there have been nights that like he have been waking up screaming. We cannot like the tubes are not very long,
Yeah.
so we cannot like move him around. We just have to sit close by and put him back to bed and just be there and read him a story or hold his hands. But Luca is a very good sleeper, so he will sleep through the
That's a
night.
plus.
Yes, it's really helpful, and we are thankful for that.
Yeah.
The machine is the one that's always wake us up. So I'm a light sleeper, so I
Yeah, you
will.
have to be.
Yeah, I wake up like more often.
Yeah, and that's why in these interviews I try to get people to understand this is a full-time thing. There are no days
Yeah,
off for you, for Luca. All this monitoring, if an alarm goes off, you have to answer that alarm. You can't have a dead sleep for 6, 8 hours like a normal person. So I just like people to understand everything that goes into, especially a small child going through this kind of kidney battle. Okay, so now Luke is at home. He's on dialysis, and he is actively listed right now at Cincinnati Children's.
He's inactive on the deceased donor list.
Right. Okay.
We are working to find living donors for him right now.
Right.
But he is ready for a transplant. So as soon as we have someone that is cleared to donate, he would be ready to have a transplant. So
Beautiful.
yeah.
And that's what we're going to get into more to right after this short commercial break. We'll be right back in a moment with Drive for Life. And ladies and gentlemen, we're back with another episode of Drive for Life. Again, I'm your host, Brian Martindale. And today we are talking about Luca, who needs a kidney transplant. We have mom and dad here telling us a little more in this section of our interview about everything else that Luca goes through and what they go through in his battle with kidney disease and with what you have to do every day and everything that goes into this. I'll let you take over. Either one of you.
yeah. Yeah, I would say it's like you said, a 24/7 job. There's a lot of monitoring that goes on. Taking his blood pressure, for example, we always have to be monitoring for, oh, it's high. Why is it high? And talking to the hospital. We
Right.
talk to our dialysis nurses almost every day. We're sending them his numbers, asking questions. Anytime a child has a catheter in them, they're at a higher risk of infection. And so we've had multiple times where there's been issues with the catheter and we have to drop everything and drive to the hospital late at night. There's always kind of something in the back of your mind of, are we going to have to go to the hospital today? What could go wrong?
Yeah, and having that insecurity all the time just has to be.
Yeah, it definitely limits what we can do. We try to make the most of it and try to be really positive and are thankful that we have PD because he really wouldn't be here if it weren't for PD.
Absolutely.
But our lives are very affected by it. He throws up a lot. That's something really common for infants,
For
especially.
most kids that we deal with, yes, that is
And
common.
yeah, so we're always, waiting, ready with burp coughs and stuff. And he
Yeah,
is mainly, he only eats through the G tube because he just doesn't have an appetite.
right.
But that is something that we hope will change after transplant.
So he would be able to eat if he had an appetite. Because I know some kids, that are primarily G tube and maybe only are able to consume a couple bites of food a day. But he
Mhm.
could if he can get through that.
Yeah, there have been days that he have taken only from the,
Mhm.
from the
It
bottle. So
changes.
it
Okay.
depends
Yeah.
about his weight, everything, like if he's dry or if he's overloaded with food, like sometimes he will not want to drink. So
We
Sure.
also it's kind of hard when it's a young child on dialysis because developmentally every kid develops at a different pace, but we definitely noticed that he's developmentally several months behind.
Okay.
And our doctors have said this is, could be from his long NICU stay, but also
Sure.
dialysis causes brain fog. And so a
Yeah.
lot of times he sleeps more than the average baby and, he's not talking yet, and these are things that our nephrologists are really hopeful will improve after a transplant.
Right. And I'm glad you brought all these things up because there are so many things between the actual kidney disease itself, depending on what it is, and the dialysis effects that
Mhm.
will cause developmental changes or, emotional, so many different things. And I'll throw in just an example. Now, my recipient, she wasn't on dialysis yet, but the kidney disease had given her a speech impediment.
Hmm.
And within a year after receiving my kidney at 10, you never knew she had a speech impediment.
Wow.
mm,
Hmm.
So I just throw that out there to give you hope too that yeah, I've seen in different situations and different afflictions completely go away or be relieved because of the kidney transplant. So that's why it's so important today, ladies and gentlemen, why we're telling you all these things about Luka and why you need to realize the importance of we need to bring forward a living donor to get this little boy off of the dialysis to a healthy life where he's eating regularly and functioning and developing as a normal little boy should at his age. And how many months is he now exactly?
15 months.
Right. Okay. So
Mhm.
he's to the point we know he can be transplanted. He's big enough. He's qualified in all those things. So now we're going to have to motivate that living donor that's watching today to become Luka's living donor hero by being motivated to become a donor to Luka. What would obviously I know life would be the thing that a donation would bring to Luka, but what would his receiving a kidney bring to your family?
Well,
a lot of
a
things.
lot
One of
of
the things that we cannot wait, it's like when you wake up in the morning, we can just pick him up, hug
things.
him, like,
Yeah.
and wouldn't have like to hold him tight and unhook from the machine and weigh him and do blood pressure and everything. So that's like sometimes like at night when he cries or wake up, like it's so hard like to be attached with him because of the cables, tubes and stuff.
Right.
So
We've never seen him pee before.
yeah.
Right. Just to see it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's another thing I try to get on these interviews. The normal things that we take for granted as parents. Now, I'm a grandparent, but as I did as a parent when I was younger, and these other parents we deal with at Kidneys for Kids, just something to, seeing your child urinate. Oh my God, and that is a miracle for your child where it's
Yeah.
just a day-to-day thing. Somebody else not dealing with kidney disease, they don't think about these things.
Mhm.
These big steps are miracles in these children's lives, like Luka, to take that step. For you to be able to pick him up and hold him and him not be wired or tethered or plugged in and eating with you and traveling with you. So,
Yeah, and I
is there
think
anything? Go ahead.
like in some ways we know this version of Luka that is sick, but we're like I feel like we'll know a new Luka after transplant, one that has energy, that doesn't have brain fog, that's not throwing up. And so we don't even know how to answer that because we haven't met that version of
You haven't
Luka yet.
experienced it yet. Yeah.
But we know that it will be one without the effects of dialysis. And so we're
Right.
excited for you.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a last commercial break. We'll be back in just a moment with the last part of today's episode of Drive for Life. Okay.
Hi, my name is Casey Path. I am the Vice President of Kidneys for Kids. Thank you so much for your consideration in supporting and donating to our nonprofit. Your support means everything. It helps us achieve our mission here. We are a nonprofit that specializes in being able to find donor matches across the nation for children in need. We have already had so much success, and we are looking forward to this next year. I was one of the first interviews with Brian Martindale, and my own son has had a kidney transplant. My husband was his donor, and it was such a beautiful process to see both sides. He is since then thriving, and we are having that at the forefront, and the goal is to help other children get back to that thriving state. Your donation, your support means the world, and we look forward to working with you.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for the special episode of Drive for Life. Today is National Organ Donors Day, and we're celebrating it with a special interview for little Luka LeMay. And we have his parents here talking to us about his kidney disease and our hopes to find a living kidney donor with this interview. So thanks again for being here. Now, we did talk a little bit about his listing. So let's talk about his Facebook page and everything. How do people, if they're motivated today, first of all, how do they contact us to become a test person, to test to be the living donor for Luka?
Yeah, there's a couple ways. First, we have a Facebook page, and it's called Team Luka with a K. Okay. So it's Team, our documents.
That's okay. Yep, Team Luka.
Oh. Should we
we'll just
that?
break that, and then we'll just. That's okay. That's okay.
He's normally very quiet, but. Should we direct people to the Kidneys for Kids website?
Well, let's direct them to Cincinnati Children's first, and let's direct them to the Facebook page, and then I'll mention we're going to be putting a story on Kidneys for Kids website. Okay, let's just start back here. Okay, so the contact information again. First of all, we want to get out everything we can about being able to test for Luka. So tell us how we can do that.
Yeah, so he is listed at Cincinnati Children's. So the best thing to do would be to contact our nurse, Tina Stanley, and we can have her email and number shared.
Yep, I will share that shortly. Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Another way is on Facebook. We have a page for Luka called Team Luka, and his name is spelled Luka. So that is an open page, and you can read more about us and living donation and contact us with questions, or Tina. Her information is on that page as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you now, does Cincinnati Children's, do they participate in paired donation?
They do, yeah. And it's something that is an option if we get to that point. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Well, I just want to take a moment because I'll explain this to people. If you reach that point, because a lot of people, if they see this, we're not going to talk about, well, let's just say, what is Luka's blood type?
He's type A, so he would be able to get an A or O kidney.
Okay. So be able to get the A or O kidney. But what we want people to understand is, if they can go to the paired donation program, you can come forward. You're seeing Luka's story today, and you can test no matter what blood type you are, because through the miracle of paired donation, that person can donate to somebody they directly match after your tests are done. And when that person receives the kidney from you, they are given a voucher, and then you would designate that voucher to Luka, and Luka would receive the next perfectly matched kidney on that list directly. So no matter who's watching today, if you're in generally good health, that's all. And I have people tell me this all the time too. Well, I maybe drank a little too much when I was younger, or I smoked cigarettes or whatever. I'm 50, or I'm 60. I was 51 when I donated, but what I like to say, I'm 63 now. When I was younger, I did the typical 20, 30-year-old things. Unfortunately, I smoked cigarettes, and thank God I stopped when I was younger. I never drank alcohol to an excess, but I drank alcohol. Why I like to say this is, obviously I don't do these things now, But people will say, well, God, I did these things when I was younger. You wouldn't want my kidney. That's totally wrong. I'm a living proof of that. I donated at 51. After going through all the tests, my organs were considered to be that of a 25 or 30-year-old when I went through the testing at 51. And I'm 63 today. I'm 12 years in, and I run around like I'm a 30-year-old. So I just don't want people to think that they put that in their mind that it's not me. I can't do it because I've done these things in the past. If you're in generally good health now and you've got two kidneys functioning and you're operating as a normal person in good physical health, you can be Luka's living donor hero. And I will tell you just one more detail about that because we talked about the information to contact. So I'll give the exact information. So people would go to Cincinnati Children's Hospital. They would contact Tina Stanley at 513-636-4312 or tina.stanley@cchmc.org. And you can then register through her to donate, to first register to test and then to donate to Luka. You can also contact us at kidneysforkids.org. After today's episode, after seeing this, you will see Luka's story and contact information there, and you can register directly through there, and you can sign up to do the testing on our website. You'll see the two top links on kidneysforkids.org. Is there anything else? Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to add, because Luka is a child, there are some qualifications that might be good for viewers to know about.
Please.
You have to be under 50 and no history of cancer or kidney disease.
Right.
So just so people know that there's that.
Yeah, under 50, I know because I talked about donating at 51, and people do donate later in life, but for a child. We're looking for a preferably younger kidney for a child this age.
But if you are, over 50 and watching, what we've found is the best thing that anyone can do is talk to their family and friends about it, and then also learn about living donation.
Yes.
We both have been tested but ruled out for reasons that we weren't aware of when we went into the testing.
Right.
But we both, as we've gone through this process and learned about kidney disease, have become incredibly passionate and excited about living donation. And that just, there's a lot of either misinformation or people don't understand how beautiful living donation is and how low risk there is. And so
absolutely
some really good information on different websites like Kidneys for Kids and the National Kidney Foundation.
Yeah, we talked about National Kidney Foundation for facts, National Kidney Registry too, because of their peer donation program. Go to Cincinnati Children's. The very first interview I did in 2023 on these national trips I take every summer to find kidney donors for children was at Cincinnati Children's with a young boy who is now 15 who just received a kidney 6 weeks ago. And he had been the longest listed patient between Cincinnati Children's, and he was also listed at Mayo. And he was listed for 5 years, and thank God he's off the list and on his way back. But we need Luka to be off this list now. We've had children, and this is something I sometimes forget to put in interviews, that if you become a direct donor, if you are the match where you can donate directly to Luka, your full-size kidney fits in that little boy. And that's another thing people don't get. They think, well, I'm 6'3" and 220 pounds, and they think they got a kidney this big, when all of our kidneys are pretty much the same size. They're down in here, and they don't realize that they're placed in the stomach pouch or the abdominal area. And the kidneys are left in place unless they're further diseased. They're just disconnected. So you watching and saying that to yourself, either I'm not healthy enough because I did things when I was younger. As long as you're in good health, we want you to test for Luka. And I'm too big, my kidney's too big. And no, your kidney will perfectly fit in Luka. He'll grow into it and it'll function just wonderfully and give him a brand new life. So then we covered all those things. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we get off of here today? And people are going to be seeing this on the Good Karma TV network at 7:30 on Monday night. It's going to be a very special episode. So anything else you'd like to add, Mom or Dad?
Yeah, I would like to add that information we got from the hospital is that if Luka don't get a kidney transplant, he will live 40 years less than someone that get kidney transplant. So if life will be very short, and we don't know how long he will live without a kidney. So dialysis is just a machine keeping him alive, but it's not the right thing to do. It's just a not permanent. How you call
It's a
temporary? Yeah.
Absolutely. This the dialysis is a bridge. It's very hard on the cardiovascular system and especially on an infant's body. And the sooner we can get Luka away from that daily treatment and whatever the treatment is needed for him with dialysis, the healthier he will be. And obviously his life will be extended to an unlimited amount of years with that new kidney instead of having a potentially limited life now. So ladies and gentlemen, this is all life encompassing and life saving about giving a kidney to Luka and what we do with Kidneys for Kids. So I want to wish both of you a wonderful day. I want you to give a hug from me to Luka when he wakes up, and just let you know that we're going to do everything we can to make sure that Luka gets that kidney as fast as possible.
Thank you so much for your time and sharing Luka's story.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us for another episode of Drive for Life. I'm your host, Brian Martindale, and we'll see you again next week with another episode.